What if we picked our politicians, not by voting, but by drawing names out of a hat? Imagine that for a second. No campaign ads, no stump speeches, no endless debates about who's more electable. Just a random selection, like jury duty, but for the highest offices in the land. Sounds a little crazy, right? Or, maybe, not so crazy after all. Because this idea, often called sortition, isn't some brand new, radical notion dreamed up by a futurist. It's actually ancient. Like, really ancient. We're talking ancient Athens, where sortition wasn't just common, it was the backbone of their democracy. Many public offices, and I mean many, were filled by lot. The Athenians actually saw elections, the system we largely operate under today, as less democratic. They believed elections favored the wealthy, the well-spoken, the elite. Random selection, they argued, ensured a broader representation of the citizenry and prevented powerful factions from dominating. It was about equal opportunity to serve, not just to vote. So, how would a modern lottery-based system even work? It wouldn't necessarily be just pulling a name out of a giant bingo cage, at least not for something as complex as running a country. Think more sophisticated. One common model discussed involves stratified sampling, which means you'd intentionally design the lottery to ensure certain demographics are represented. So, if your population is 51% female, 15% a particular ethnic group, or 20% under 30, the selection process would ensure those proportions are roughly maintained in the randomly selected body. It's not just a single draw either. It could be a multi-stage process. You might have an initial large pool drawn, followed by some basic vetting for eligibility, like age and citizenship. Then perhaps a smaller group that undergoes training on governance, policy, and public service before the final selection for office is made. Some proposals even include a citizen vetting committee, also randomly selected, to ensure candidates aren't completely unsuitable for public service. Now, why would anyone seriously consider this radical shift? The core arguments for sortition often revolve around tackling some of the most persistent problems in our current electoral systems: corruption and the outsized influence of special interests. The thinking goes like this: if you're not beholden to campaign donors because you didn't need to campaign, and you're not trying to appease party lines to get re-elected, you might be more inclined to make decisions based solely on the public good. You're not trying to win votes, you're just trying to do the job. Imagine politicians who aren't constantly fundraising or performing for the cameras, but genuinely deliberating on policy. It's an attractive vision for many. But let's be real, it's not all sunshine and democratic rainbows. There's a major, glaring concern: accountability. If we don't vote them in, how do we vote them out? What mechanism exists to remove someone who is doing a terrible job, or worse, abusing their power? And then there's the question of expertise. Complex governance requires a deep understanding of economics, law, international relations, and countless other fields. Can we rely on a random sample of the population, no matter how well-intentioned, to possess or quickly acquire that necessary depth of knowledge? There's a valid fear that randomly selected leaders could be easily manipulated by permanent bureaucracies or simply make uninformed decisions. So, is this just a historical curiosity or a purely academic thought experiment? Not entirely. Beyond ancient Greece, sortition isn't completely absent from modern life. The most obvious example is jury duty selection, where random citizens are entrusted with profound legal decisions. But it goes further. Countries like Ireland have extensively used citizen assemblies, where randomly selected groups of ordinary people are tasked with deliberating on complex policy issues, things like abortion rights or climate change. These assemblies hear from experts, debate, and then issue recommendations, which have in some cases directly led to referendums and significant policy changes. Canada, Iceland, and parts of the United States have also experimented with similar models for local governance or specific policy consultations. These aren't replacing elections, but they are demonstrating the power of deliberative random selection in shaping public policy. The potential impact on political discourse and public engagement is also fascinating and complex. Could it lead to a more informed citizenry, because people know they could be called upon to serve, prompting a greater interest in public affairs? Or would it further disengage people who feel their vote no longer matters, because they don't even get to pick who represents them? It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it could combat voter apathy by offering a different form of participation. On the other, it could alienate those who cherish the act of voting as their primary democratic right. Ultimately, this entire discussion sparks a fundamental question about the very nature of representation itself. Is the goal to elect the best people, those with the most experience, the most charisma, the most proven leadership qualities? Or is the goal to ensure that decisions reflect the collective wisdom, the diverse perspectives, and the lived experiences of the entire population? It challenges us to think about whether our current system, for all its familiarity, is actually achieving what we want it to. What do you think? Is the idea of lotteries replacing elections a utopian dream, a dystopian nightmare, or something in between that we should be seriously considering? Could a hybrid system, combining elements of both, offer a path forward for reinvigorating our democracies? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if this discussion got you thinking, please hit that like button and subscribe for more conversations like this.